Today I just want to show you really quickly how to design a super fast album from a portrait session that I did recently. You could do this with your vacation photos. You can do this yourself if you know what kind of pictures to take. So hopefully this will also give you some ideas on what photos to take when you're doing, like, you know, your summer vacation. So here I have a photo shoot that I did on Keuka Lake. It's near Keuka Lake, which is in the Finger Lakes of New York State. If you've never been to the Finger Lakes, oh my goodness, you need to go. It's just breathtaking. The Finger Lakes were carved out by glaciers millions of years ago, and now they're just ripe with vineyards and just wine tours and beautiful vistas and just gorgeous. So this client hired me. They do a summer vacation with their whole family for a week or two every summer at this old house that they bought and renovated. So I went out there to do family pictures for the grandparents' 80th birthday. There's two grandpas are turning 80, these guys. So we did some traditional photos, but I'm a big fan of books, and so I took a lot of candids and a lot of detailed shots of the prep for the party because I knew I wanted to do a book, whether they didn't ask for it yet or not. But anyway, so here we go. I'm just going to dive right in. So again, my name is Heather McKay from McKay's Photography out of Rochester, New York. And I photographed this family portrait session. And I'm just going to show you how to very quickly make a little photo book and how to lay it out. So first thing you want to do is aggregate all of your photos into one spot, obviously. I'm using software called SmartAlbums. If you do a lot of albums and you want it to be really, really easy, go buy SmartAlbums. It's totally worth it. This is a professional software that I use, and it's specifically geared towards people like me who are doing a ton of books. I find iPhoto or Apple Photos and Shutterfly and those kinds of things a little limiting just because I already have a vision. But if you don't have a vision, those things are perfectly fine. You should absolutely utilize whatever software is on your computer for the first couple books. But as I'm assuming a lot of professional photographers would be watching this, or people who want to be professional photographers, then what I want to let you know is that I'm using SmartAlbums. So the first thing I'll tell you is I named the title of it what size I chose. So with SmartAlbums, it asks me when I'm importing and starting a new project, it asks me to choose an album company. So I write the album company I chose and the size and then the name of the client. That's how I do it. That way, if the client doesn't approve this and they come back 6 months later, I don't have to remember what they chose. It just makes it easy. So I'm designing an 8x8 book from Pro DPI for the Wilson family. So that's how I name my project. And I have all my images here sorted by file name. I usually put my details in the front, then candids, and then as you see, we scroll down, you'll see family portraits. So this one's going to be pretty easy to just knock this design out. I mean, here's the house itself with like people sitting there hanging out. So that's great. So we're going to take that photo, and I'll take some of the prettier detail photos like this one, this one, this one. Man, that fireplace was really, really cool. And then, yeah, I'll do those first, and we'll make a page. And you just drop it in, and you can see that it's a page break here, page break here. It auto-populates, and geez, man, look how great that looks. That looks amazing. The only thing I might change, because this is the very first page of the book, is I think I'll find the birthday boys and drop them in, these two guys, because it's their 80th birthday. So I think I'll put them right there. That way I can add some text here for my client and say, la-di-da-da-da, 80th birthday party, 2017, right? So now we've got, you know, the house, a couple detail photos, and then the two guys, right? All right, so the next page, let's just go find some more. If you are good about rating your images in like 3 stars, 2 stars, whatever, then you can sort by your best photos automatically. So for example, Suzanne here, she's the one that hired me, so I would pick her with the kitchen with all the activity, and then here's these 2 little kids peeking through. They can see the kitchen, so I'm going to take that one, and then I want to do a couple process photos of, oh, here's Grandpa writing a note, and then here's them making their 80th birthday note to him. So I'm going to make that a page. So all I have to do is drop it right over here, and it auto-populates. And now I see it together. It's pretty busy, don't you think? So maybe we'll make this its own page. And then I'll add like detail photos. Like, where's the pies? Well, the pies are just 1 star. Okay, let's find those pies real quick because they were really happy about these pies. So we're going to show a little bit more ambiance on this page to add some color and just to make it more fun. Well, we don't need that vertical to be so prime time. Yeah, we'll do something like that. Maybe I'll get rid of one of these pie photos. I'll probably get rid of this pie photo. And then with SmartAlbums, I can use the up and down arrows to just cycle through the photos and the layouts until I find one I like. So a photo like this, where there's a lot going on, there's a ton to look at, she's kind of smaller in the frame, that's something I would make bigger like this versus a photo like this. This does not need to be a giant picture, so if you switched these, it would be really weird, right? Unless there was a whole story behind that pie and somebody had a meltdown and a malfunction, then maybe you would in your own book. But the other thing is, like, this is a little bit redundant now that I'm looking at it. This pie, though that's a beautiful photo and you can see all the berries, that pie is right here and so are the berries. So realistically, I could get rid of this photo and I could make, and then now I would make this vertical picture a little bit bigger. I could do something like that. There's all kinds of things I can do. You know, you see, it's pretty fun. So it's all about, like, what's the story that you're trying to tell? This makes the most sense because now I have a little bit of detail of the house itself, which is a story for this family. This couple bought this house in the middle of the Finger Lakes, and it had been abandoned for 25 years, and they've been restoring it and rebuilding it. So to have some house in this book makes a lot of sense for this particular photo shoot. So here's our pies and our details, and then these guys are peeking down, and this is the view that they get to see. So it really makes sense that these two photos would stay together. I was up here when I took this picture. And I'm not going to show you the picture of all the rat turds that are the mouse poop that's up in this loft, but that gives you an idea of like how to lay out a page so that it makes sense. So now this page makes a lot more sense. And again, this guy, he's looking this way, which makes your eye go off the page. So I'm going to switch him with this one. The other reason is that there's 3 people in this picture. So if something's going to be a bigger picture, it would be something like that. I'm not sold on this layout. I think I'd like to have this picture a little bit bigger, but you know, we'll see how the whole book goes and maybe I'll change my mind. There's other options here. I can scroll through, or if I kind of know what I'm going for, like this makes a lot more sense. Oh my gosh, yes, I love this because here's again grandma with the kids and they're making a pie, and then these guys are writing the 80th birthday cards, and then here's the 80th birthday guy doing maybe a speech or whatever he's doing, looking through this pie here that they're making. So I love these, the way that just pre-populated. Anyway, I'm talking a lot more than I would just sort of talking out my thoughts for you. But obviously, if I was going to just do this in person without you here listening, then like I would just like knock this right out. Let's see, I need a picture of her, but here she is helping the kids. And then here's these guys. So maybe I'll just take, you know, a couple more of these photos. People, that one's cute, but we already have her and we already have the kitchen, but let me get this little girl. Okay, and then here's that cutie again, but I think we're good. So we're just gonna add these photos together, and I love it. So she's not that flattering. This isn't a great photo of her necessarily, but I like this moment, and so this one's a little bit better. She's rolling out this pie. So, you know, this is where you could, like, later on I could decide, like, maybe I'll add her to a different page or whatever, you know. And then I'm going to rearrange this because I don't want, when it was like this, she's going to be really big in the album, and it's not the greatest photo of hers, so I don't really want that picture to be quite so large. But here, grandkid, you can't go wrong making a grandkid ginormous. And then this girl here, she's so cute, and she's cutting up basil, and again we have the house. So maybe I'll do it like that, and then all these other photos like that. And then this SmartAlbums, I can just move and crop that, so it's more about what she's doing and less about who's doing it. And then the same thing here, I can like rearrange a little. And then these guys, I'll make sure this guy on the left is not cropped out. And then this way, like if that guy's worried about his belly, I can like crop him a little bit more, but he's still in it. So that's it. I mean, it's so simple. Like SmartAlbums just makes it so easy to just drop and drag and go. Okay, so now what I want to do before I get into all these candids, What I'm going to do is throw in some formal pictures because it'll help break up the formals if I do a couple, you know, formal here and some more candids. So like here's the whole group. Not sure that that's necessarily the best one. Let me see which one's the best one. Let's see. Let's do the best one. I like this one because they're further away. So now I'm not cropping off people's feet. I also like that I can see the property. So to me, that's really important to tell the story. You do want to pay attention to where this gutter is. This line here is where the fold in the book will be. So this is going to be a left-hand page and a right-hand page. But you see how now I can see the land and the property and how it's all laid out? I love this kind of stuff. So that's probably how I would do that picture, just as its own page. If I added photos with it, if I tried to do like a whole bunch of pictures on that page, it's going to get really, really busy and you don't know where to look. Like, whose face do I look at? Where do I go? And so much gets cut off. So I'm going to make those their own page, right? So keep this one as its own thing because there's so many faces in it. That way it's a little bigger. You can always zoom in, zoom out, whatever, but I really like that as a 2-page spread. And then this one, what I want to do is, so I've got this couple and I have this couple, and those are the 2 grandparents, 2 sets of grandparents. So again, just depends on how you want it to go and what story you want to tell. I could absolutely put all 4 of them together, but as a genealogical record, how do you know who these people are? It looks like they might be all siblings, but they're not. So for me, I'm a big fan of just making it simple to understand and logical. So even if it's your family, you know, make it make sense. So I would do something like this, like the 2 couples, right? Or even like this. You know, if that's just more fun layout, you know, except I don't like the way her face looks in that picture. So I think I will go back to the 2 vertical pictures like that. And we don't even have to do, I mean, I can break it up a different way. It doesn't have to be the 2 different couples, but that's just an option. So the other thing I could do to break this up is because all the kids that are here belong to these people. So what I can do is like, here's all of their siblings with their spouses. So I could do something like this page, like that. So we've got grandparents, kids and their spouses. Perfect, done, easy. And look how pretty that page is. You've got all this green tying everything together. I think it looks great. Might zoom in a little on these guys because these guys are closer, but it's not really that big a deal. I could zoom in and make it match if I want, but I think I'll wait until I'm done deciding what's happening before yeah, I think it looks good. Okay, and then I'm just going to pick families out, right? So if I know the ages of these adult children, then I could just go by that. But let me find this. I've got this cute photo of them just horsing around, and I've got a picture of the kids horsing around. Those kids do not belong to them, so let's take those out. Let's see, where's the kiddos? Oh, I love this picture. This is the cutest picture ever. So look how cute that is. You got mom and dad being fun and frisky, and then you got the kids being fun siblings, and then here's this photo. If you don't want a break right here, and then we got this guy walking around in the background, again, I can just cycle through and find a layout which would take up like something like this. And then with SmartAlbums, I can just drag and drop. Oh, yeah, come on. So I could do just a half page to crop that guy out. And then because this was a vertical, I want to go back to that probably. So it's just a matter of finding the right layout for it. Okay, now I can switch these 2, go back. Yeah, so I'll play with it. This photo should be bigger because it's the family photo, and then these 2 are just supporting photos. So you want to figure out with every page, what's your primary photo? The primary photo is this family photo. And then you just have a couple supporting photos, right? So let me see if I can find one. I might have to make one that fits because that one vertical really throws it off. Maybe, I mean, yeah, see, there we could do it. We could do something like that. But again, knowing that these are the parents and they're going to love their kids, I'll probably switch these 2 photos. The other thing is like now all of the energy is going down off the page on this picture. So even if I want this to be a little bit more of a vertical still, and this one's okay the size, I might switch the spots of those 2 photos. But I'm still having to deal with this guy in the background. I'm still having to deal with the family split up. So let me just keep looking and see if there's one. See how that's a square there? That's kind of what I'm looking for. So SmartAlbums has a lot of templates, but if I don't find the template I'm looking for, Yeah, see, that's better. See how it's better, how your eye just goes down here and then back over here. So one thing I can do is I can just crop so that that guy is out of the photo, which that's pretty good. I like that. That's not bad. But I also could double click on this page and bring it up and adjust the template. If I really can't find what I'm looking for, then I can just make my own damn spread. So I'm just gonna like, and it even shows me that those two are now centered on this page. So isn't that cool? I just love it. Okay, so now that I looked for that and I couldn't find it, I'm gonna go ahead and save it as a template and then go back. And now you can see that that's much better. And just make sure that you've got everybody in there, you know, centered pretty much. So I actually really like that. It was probably okay the way it was once I cropped that guy out. Okay, that's a little bit too long on that family. Let me just keep on rolling. So same thing here. We've got this family here. We'll grab the parents. This is a nice photo, and then the sons. We'll just do a quick family photo. Of course, we'd want this one to be the primary photo because it's the whole family. So we just do something like that, keep it simple. Okay, and then here's this family. This family had the two little kids. It was really hard to get good faces out of them, but I think we nailed it with this one, or like this one's just a really nice, fun photo. So let me see. She wanted to be with both her kiddos, but I'm gonna make, because it's a book and you don't want too much camera wear, we're gonna take a couple of these cuter ones, you know, like that, and her husband. We'll put that together. And there you go, perfect. I mean, and then they're small and they're supplementing and it's not that big a deal. Cool, so then we've got that family, we've got that family. Oh, and we're missing a family, here we go. Oh, I love this picture. This is a great picture of them, right? Love it. But I also really liked, I mean, it's cute. I took this picture of mom and dad, but right when I got done, they were even cuter all by themselves right behind me. So I love this even better than the one that I took. And then we like these kids horsing around, so I might just keep one of those in there too. But you see how adding one more photo kind of messes it up a little? But, you know, something like that works great. I mean, look how cute that is. I might make this bigger because, again, it's the primary photo, and we really want to make sure that it's got a lot of energy to it. Let's see. Look how cute that is. Right? So cute. And then you get more of the barn and blah, 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 all that stuff. So again, I'm just making sure that this gutter doesn't really go through that kid's face. It's okay if it goes through his ear or his shoulder. It's not that big a deal. You just really don't want it to go through somebody's face, you know, and like that. And then I think it's okay to be off center a little because you've got this barn back here, which is really fun. And I could always just decide to do something different, but I think that works for now. And I'm just going to switch these two photos because this bench is sort of an anchoring element, and so that should be at the bottom of the page because it gives some weight to the image, and that weight should be at the bottom of the page, if that makes any sense. And then a lot of these other photos are just photos they wanted, like, hey, here's all the girls, and then, oh, here's all the boys. That stuff doesn't really need to be in a book. Then here's all the grandkids. We could put like all these grandkids. We could put back up here with the grandpas if we really wanted to, like we could make a page with the grandpas, but I really like that it's their 80th birthday weekend. If it was just a random year for them, I might not do it this way. So we've got all these candids, all this ambiance, then we go into a couple pages of formals. We'll try to add a couple candids to our formals. Let's see, I think I have all the families represented. I might put them in age range for them, just if I feel like it, you know, it doesn't really matter, but you can do it that way. And then the last thing that I need is more candids. So this is where I can put some of these more fun ones, like more ambiance outside. So the first section was ambiance inside the house. Then we broke it down with some formals, and now I'm going to do ambiance outside the house. So like this was such a fun little tree. This old tree is so pretty. So I might take a couple of these. And then let's see, since this is a tree cutting down thing, let's take that and make that a page. Like then it's all makes sense because it's all a tree page, right? So, and then it's just a matter of finding the right template. I mean, honestly, let's see. Yeah, it depends on who's important. You know, this is where I could talk to them and kind of figure it out. Let's see. I mean, something like this is really not that bad. You know, so that's a potential way to do it. This is such a nice picture, though. I might want that one a lot bigger. So let's go ahead and try. Yeah, maybe. No, I think I liked it better the other way. So we'll leave it for that, and then I'll let the client decide. Okay, so next up, I mean, look at how cutie these little cutie girls are, you know, these preteens. And then we've got this uncle playing with the kids, like so cute. So I'm just going to grab a bunch of vertical photos so that it's easier to lay out the page. And then I love that she's blowing all these bubbles. So I'm going to, well, except I'm going to do the next page is going to be bubbles. So I'll go ahead and take her. So we're going to just do a page like this, a couple verticals, love that. Maybe break up these headshots just a little, and that movement breaks it up, right? Okay, so you see how that goes? She's looking this way, they're going this way. She's kind of an anchor to pose, so it's okay. We might switch these two and see how that looks. That looks okay. Maybe a little bit too chaotic, but that's all right. And then, like, I just love these bubbles. Like, this one's so great. This one's good. He was laying on the ground for some random reason. This one's so great because you can actually see the bubble that she's grabbing and popping. So let me bring those up. Yeah, actually it's this photo. This photo here shows the bubble. Yeah, look at that. Boop. But I could do the two pictures together and it would even have more impact because you can see it and then you can't see it. So there's the bubble and there the bubble's gone. So I think that's great, but I might switch these around because again, when you're designing a book, you want to look, she's looking this way and he's running this way. So he's on the left of the photos here, so you might as well have it laid out that way. So it's just a thought. You know, I could always make one of these bigger, like this one with the bubble. I can just make that a lot bigger, like this, which actually that makes it all look better, I think. Cool. And then that's pretty much it. I mean, we just need to find like a really killer way to end the book. We actually need a couple more of these kids. Like this kid here was being really, really silly, which is fun. And then here this one's being really silly. And then we got Dad in on the action. But actually this is a better one of the same kid and his sister's behind him. So I'm going to keep that one. And then here's the last bubble photo. So we can just do a whole page of like all this kind of stuff. And just rearrange it and find like a really great way that it goes together. And I feel like we have a lot of pictures of those two kids, so I can move him here because there's not a lot of candids of this kid, or because this is fun with Dad, I could put that one there, which really all makes sense. But again, like this one, he's pointing up, so you need to make sure that this photo is dynamic, which that photo does not look very dynamic there, does it? Look at that. So let me find a better photo for that spot. Let's see if there's any other candids we can drop in there. Well, I guess we could do the one with all the kids, but the problem with that is this is such a small spot, small picture, that, you know, even though we've already seen all these kids, you still want to be able to look at all those things. So let me just rearrange this and see. Yeah, you see how now you can actually see who's here. You can see the garden, blah, blah, blah. And again, we don't really want these two kids to be so big. Even if they're in this one, they're the same kids, but they're not so big because they're in here in all the photos, and they're not the only grandkids. So that's the thing when you're done with your book. You want to kind of look over the whole thing and see like, oh, is there too many people represented? The same people represented all the time, you know? Like I don't have a lot of pictures of this little kid. But I've got Sylvie here quite a lot. As far as candids anyway. So as long as if you're missing somebody and they're not totally represented, then I do a close-up of them. Like find a nice picture of just that kid and make sure they're highlighted, because then you won't notice that they're not in all these other photos as much, right? So even though Sylvie is in all three of these pictures, this is really the only one that's about her, but it is these three people, so I need to not have all the pictures just be those three people, if that makes sense. And so this is where I could actually combine some of these photos, like here's this girl blowing bubbles, she's blowing bubbles again. So maybe I would switch Sylvie laughing like that, and actually, no, I think the other way. So then you're breaking up who's on the page. And maybe I don't need her with the bubble and without the bubble. Maybe it's too redundant. Maybe I'll take it out. And then I also have to worry about how many spreads I have. Some of these album companies limit how many. So like the album company I'm going to use, I have to go by number of 5 spreads. So this is 15 spreads. That's perfect. But if you're ordering like a Shutterfly book or blurb or a photo book from Apple, those you can do however many pages you want. It doesn't really matter. But for me, I either have to have 10 spreads or I have to have 15 spreads. So now I have my 15 spreads. It's just a matter of laying it out where it makes more sense. And again, maybe I split these up into the bubble ones. Like maybe she's watching the bubbles, right? Maybe it's not all about, and then maybe I combine some of these pages and then make one bigger. There's all kinds of different ways you can play the game. Like I really like these tree ones, so maybe those should be bigger. Like that. That actually looks a lot better because it's all about the trees now. And then now you've got Grandma and Grandpa watching all of the mayhem. But I don't necessarily like it with these other photos, so I'm going to break up all these bubble photos. Something like, maybe not quite like that. Actually, what I'll do is I'll switch this one and this one because then it breaks up these kids being so centered. Yeah, that's way better because now it's just bubbles. Yeah, I love it. I love this picture here so much. I'm going to put Sylvie back over here watching. Oh, wait. So there we go. Yeah, I love that. I definitely don't know if I want that kid in there, but the hard part about cropping is that I don't want just a random hand in there. So I think I might just leave him and figure out how to like make it work. And then like, you know, if you don't really like the layout of something, like they're looking this way, this is pointing that way, then you can just remove some photos and see how else you can lay it out. You know, like that actually looks good by itself because they're both pointing up. But I still would love something on the left that they're all looking at. Something like this would be perfect. So they're watching the action. He's just being silly. There's the other cousin. Yeah, so this is like so much better. I still want this bubble one a lot bigger. So I might have to play with that a little, but that's just me being picky. And if you're just doing your own book for home, it's not really that big a deal. But for me, I want to see if I love that picture so much. But you see what the problem is? You run into that vertical throws off the horizontals. I mean, the horizontal throw off the two verticals. This makes it a little bit more sense. But I just really wish I could get that one to be bigger. So I could actually put it on this other page here if I really wanted. You know, and then again, it makes sense more with this kid being half cut off that he's here too. So maybe that might be the best way, and that's kind of how I had it before. Yeah, this looks good, and then she's married to him, so that makes sense. So actually, I don't mind that at all. But because she is such an anchored pose, and then this girl's blowing bubbles but sort of looking this way, I'm going to switch these two photos. Yeah, that looks so much. And then you've got barn going into barn. Does that make sense? Cool. So now we've got it pretty much nailed down. I'm going to go back to something like that. I love these two portraits of these two girls. Just going to look through and see if I'm missing any photo that's vital, but not really. And then the only thing is I want to leave on a good page too. So at the end of the book, I might put another detail in another grandpa photo or something like that. Because this is the last page and it's not quite that dynamic. So I might want to, if the photos are like less interesting than other photos, you don't want to end or start on that. So I might end on something like this, because we're going from posed photos, posed photos, posed photos, and then these are still kind of posed. But you see how they don't really match anything else. So you could break it up by putting those like in between the bubbles or after the bubbles, or maybe you don't use them because they just don't fit. But I really, really like this page. I love all these pictures. And again, it's right after all these formals. So even though it flows really nicely, these are also really beautiful pictures. So I'm going to put this one as the very last page because I just really like the spread a lot. It's a lot of color. It's a lot of motion and activity. And I just feel like it's a more dynamic way to end the book. Whereas these are all just kind of filler photos. They're for the book and not really something you would print. Cool. Yeah, so I'm really happy with the way this looks now. We've got my 15 spreads. We've got all the families involved. We've got the big family photo we need. And sometimes, again, if you find that you're designing something and it's too many formals all in a row, okay, formals, everybody's staring. Because these people are going to be looking at themselves when they're looking at the book and holding it. So I might break up all these formals and put this big big double family photo all the way in the front as like the very, very beginning. Not the first page, like we have this detail page, which I like, is sort of an intro to where the heck we are, why we're here, blah, blah, blah. And then just go right into the big group photo and then break it up with all these detail photos of like activity, right? And you see how they're making a pie, but then here's the pies are finished. So I'm going to actually rearrange these a little bit so that they're building the pies and the food, and then the pies are finished. It just makes more sense. So once you're done designing, go back through and make sure it makes more sense. Okay, so layout. We've got the location, the ambiance, party information. Here's why we're here is these two guys. Here's the whole family, everybody that's here that we love. Now we're making pies, making cards, talking about stuff, making pies, shucking some corn, carving up some basil, chit-chatting and drinking beers. Now the pies are finished, and she's like, whoo, we're done, we're almost done, yay. And here's the kids getting bored, waiting for the pies. You see how I'm telling a story? All of a sudden, just by rearranging those pictures or those pages, now it's a story. Now it's easy to tell this story with the photos. And now we've got, okay, here we are again. Here's the kids with all their spouses. Here's the two sets of grandparents. Now we've got the kids. I'm not really sure who's oldest, but you know, I could always rearrange these if they really want to go to like oldest to youngest. I know he's the youngest. So let's see, I think it goes like this. I don't really know the family totally 100%, but I'm pretty sure that this is the age range. Maybe. I just know he's the youngest. So I'm going to leave it like that. They can always veto it. And then now we just have all these fun pictures. Bubbles, hanging out, watching the bubbles. Oh, we got bored, we went to the trees, more bubbles. And then horsing around, having a good time. Done. So that's it. It didn't take me that long. I don't know how long I've been recording, but it really wasn't that long. And that was with me talking it all out and verbalizing what I'm doing. And that's it. And now all I have to do is save it. You always want to save your work. And then with SmartAlbums, I can export for proofing, so I can send it to my client, or I can export for print. For me, since you're following along, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do it. I use Dropbox for everything. I have a folder for my albums, and then I have a folder within the album folder on Dropbox for designs. So I'm going to choose that and then make a new folder with the last name so I can have everything all in there. So it's a Wilson family. So now I'm going to have a Wilson album. I'm going to save it in there. I always do the file names, a watermark. Image numbers is good. A gutter line is really good because then they can see what I'm seeing as far as where the trim is. Where the fold will be. So I'm just going to do all of those different things and hit export. And it's just going to export low-res, web-ready files that I can share with my client on a proofing system or on my website. Okay? And then if I was ready to go to print, you just do the exact same thing. Now it shows me under Dropbox, albums, their name, and here's all these syncing right now to Dropbox. I love Dropbox. If you haven't used Dropbox, go check out my YouTube channel because I talk about how I organize all these things. Okay, so now let's go ahead and send it out as a PDF also. Lately, my proofing system has been a little wonky on my website, so I've just been sending a PDF to my clients. So I'm going to go ahead and do a PDF. It remembers where I was saving it. Hit export. Dun-da-da, takes a second, and then this way I can just email them a link to the PDF. And with Dropbox, they can leave notes on the PDF in Dropbox so that I can see. It's really pretty easy. It's the easiest system I have now that my proofing website system got broken. Cool. So that's it, and it shares it to the same folder. So here's the PDF. Pretty awesome. Now I can just email them my album design with the price and everything, and they can let me know how it's going. All right, so that's it. I'm just going to close that out. I'm going to go ahead and save it again. It always wants you to save things a couple times, which is great.